Welcome to how I color night scene backgrounds. I think, yeah, that's the title that I gave to these coloring series. But the tiger has been main subject for a long time. But now I'm heading back to that background. Let's start with Polychromos Sky Blue. I'm just adding a layer of color here. I don't know if you can hear it, but there is a beautiful great tit making a lot of noise outside. Yesterday I saw another great tit having dinner in our garden. I put a little bit of bird food in the garden, and this was the first time that I actually saw a bird eating it. I feel like I want to try another pencil brand, and I don't know if I've already used it in this series. This is Irojiten Indigo, a very dark blue. It's a very hard pencil, and it's quite dry, so to speak. It's difficult to describe how this pencil feels, but it feels dry. Now look at this, although it's a very hard pencil, the pigment comes out and there is already a lot of layers of color here on the paper. I am recording this video without the famous microphone. I had a feeling that too many people are having trouble with the lower volume that comes from that microphone. So I think I should go back to what I did, just recording with the microphone that is in my smartphone, and then start looking for another microphone. I'm having a lot of new ideas for the Passion for Pencils channel, but before I start doing those new ideas, I really need to finish the projects that are not finished yet, like this one. Normally I tend to jump in a new idea and just drop everything else. And actually, Passion for Pencils coloring has taught me, well, I already knew that it is a good thing to finish things, but Passion for Pencils inspired me to actually start doing that. A couple of years ago, that was my New Year's resolution, finishing things. And I must say it is starting to work. Here is a color called Kingfisher. And a kingfisher, that is a bird. And here in Europe, and I think in Asia as well, kingfishers have a beautiful orange and blue coat. So I think this pencil is inspired on the beautiful blue that is in a kingfisher bird. And kingfishers have a nickname in the Netherlands. Blauwe schicht. Blue swift. And years ago we had a beautiful encounter with one of these beautiful birds. We were in the Belgian area called Ardennes. It is an old mountainous range, not too high, the mountains, but there are beautiful rivers and caves, heavily forested, lots of wildlife, and on one of the rivers you can go kayaking. So we went kayaking with a group, and it was early November, I still remember, and it was cold. It was 8 degrees Celsius, and then we decided to go kayaking, and you know you get wet, but because you know when you do kayaking you're moving your body a lot, so we weren't cold, thank goodness. And then at one point I saw this blue swift, just something blue flying, and I looked once more, and it was this beautiful kingfisher who was working on fishing. And as we were floating by, it continued fishing, and it did that right in front of our kayak. It was flying, so we could observe it for a couple of minutes. That was really beautiful. Last night I have been studying the beautiful blue colors that occur in the night sky just after sunset. These beautiful shades of blue occur, and there is such a deepness in the colors. I could spend a lifetime mixing all the blues in the world to see if I can get to that beautiful, beautiful night sky blue. Here is hydrangea blue, just continuing. And I've been staring at the night sky quite a few times now, and every time I'm in awe. Oh, I must show you what I'm doing, I'm sorry. Every time I'm in awe by what I see, those blue, dark blue shades, and every time I try to figure out what I see, what pigments do I see? Do I see a cobalt blue? Do I see a phthalo blue? What do I see? And it's so difficult to determine. I'm sure there is somebody on the planet who figured that out. But the deepness of that blue, and it's almost like there's a light behind it. It's really interesting. Let's get back to that indigo. And it looks like this drawing really needed a little bit of Irojiten. It's working quite well. I've been doing some coloring without recording also. I did a little bit of work on these leaves. Have you had any news about new pencils coming out in 2019? I haven't heard anything. Last year we had Derwent coming with the light fast pencils. I haven't tried them yet. They are quite expensive, and they have only 36 pencils right now because they want to launch pencils that are 100% light fast. So I have understood that more pencils will be released as soon as they find the right mixture for those pencils. But I haven't tried them yet. But I haven't heard about any other pencil brand launching new stuff. The last couple of years, a lot of new art materials have been released and invented. And I am waiting for one thing to be invented. It is a watercolor tool. Nowadays you have these wonderful water brushes, and I would love to see Winsor & Newton, the manufacturer of watercolor paint and of watercolor brushes. I would love them to make a Series 7 water brush. I have Series 7 brushes. They are traditional brushes and they are absolutely amazing, and I would love to see them make something that gives you the possibility of just putting the traditional brush, connecting it to a water barrel from the water brushes, and then you have a Series 7 water brush. That would be absolutely amazing. Well, coloring these dark backgrounds, it takes a lot of time because it needs a lot of layering. I can do it in one layer, but then I will not be able to get the depth in the colors like I would like to have. This is aqua. I'm just adding a light layer of this light blue here. And now let's take a look to the blue background over here. This is a color called Mulberry. I'm just going to try them all, why not? I think I need to do some sharpening. These Irojiten pencils, they sharpen like perfect. That's not a good English sentence, I believe, but anyway. We had our niece over for a couple of times. Sometimes niece and nephew, the eldest, the two eldest, ask my husband and me for helping them with their homework. And the last couple of times it was my niece asking for assistance with her English homework. So we did, and I must say, I already told you a little bit about it, but it shows how little I actually know about the English grammar, and that I'm always going for the most easy way when I want to write or say something. I think that's a wise thing, otherwise I would in Dutch I would say, ik zou mezelf vast lullen. I would start a sentence and then not be able to finish it in a proper way. So my grammar, my knowledge of the grammar is not optimal, absolutely not. Celeste blue, sky blue, I think they say that means. Anyway, this time she niece had to read some sort of magazine, an English magazine with all sorts of items. That was so nice. We learned new words. I learned something about a flying car. I learned something about snakes. And there was also an article about the Roman emperors, but we had no time to read that, so she will be reading it on her own. This is Indigo. And then she had also, there were multiple choice questions to answer. And I have to say, it wasn't that easy to answer all those questions. There were a couple of questions that I thought, ooh, there's more than one answer that may be right. So maybe that's the lack of my English, could be, of course. I must add a sheet of paper because my hand is starting to smudge. That's not good. So let's continue. The beautiful blue sky. This may be a little bit boring to see, to watch Indigo, because it's just doing the same thing over and over again. But I'm trying to get a result that is as smooth as possible. So if I encounter an area where there is more pigment, then I'm very careful not to add too much pencil strokes directly on top of that, because it will be difficult to blend it in right then. So if I see a darker spot, then I will go around it. Hoping that will help make a nice even night sky. Look at this. Now I must go to my favorite art shop because I need to fixate this. I really need to do that because otherwise this beautiful result will disappear over time. I know which fixative I need because I read it in a beautiful book about colored pencil art. So I'm going to try that particular brand. Let's take a look. Yeah, this is working great. Maybe next week we will be able to do some ice skating. The temperatures are dropping right now. This morning there was a beautiful piece of art around our pond made by the most talented artist you've ever seen, nature itself. I think I can show you a little bit of it because I made a couple of seconds of video. Let me show you. Now, as you know, when it starts freezing and there is even a teeny tiny chance of going ice skating, the Dutch go crazy, including myself. I go crazy if we can maybe do some ice skating. So I'm really hoping that the cold temperatures will stay here for a while, and I think the weather forecasts, I don't think the temperatures are low enough for making that happen, so we need a little bit of extra cold luck. Here is this beautiful Celeste blue again. And I've been following the news lately. I don't do that always, but I have been following the news a little bit. There's so much going on in the world right now. I think many people need a couple of pencils to stay calm, I think. Here in Europe we are facing the Brexit. Yeah. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I really don't know. It is too complicated for me to make to say something that really is useful. I have no idea. What I do know though is that in Europe there are so many, with all those countries with their own language and their own culture, there are so many differences in culture, and I don't think when the European Union was established, people have thought enough about how to how to deal with that. A lot of the problems that Europe is facing right now, I think, stems from the idea that too many foreigners are telling you what to do. Years ago there was something about French cheese. The European Union had decided, or wanted to decide, that the French were no longer could no longer make their cheese the way they have been doing for centuries because of whatever, hygiene, I don't know. They've been doing that for centuries and centuries, and suddenly they could no longer do that. I don't think that law made it because there was so much oppression. Is that the right word? There were so many people against it. And then you had this feeling of the French thinking, hey, mind your own business, you foreigners. So, and I think the same is happening to the United Kingdom right now. Too many foreigners are deciding how they should run their country, their farms. I think it's a lot about farms and fishing. But I'm just saying something I've actually, it's too complicated, I think. And I think the same, you have a same thing going on in Germany. This is mulberry, a cultural thing that they will never give up. In Germany there is no speed limit. Yeah, there are speed limits, but not on the freeway. Not everywhere. So there are areas where you can go as fast as you want. And last year we spoke to a German and he said, we will never give up our right to drive as fast as we want. But that is pure culture. So, yeah. But for another country, it may seem completely crazy to have no speed limit. And then there is Italy, and they jokingly say Italy has speed limits, but it's not a limit, it's a suggestion. So, yeah, we have so many cultures, and that is what makes Europe so rich, but also very difficult to manage. I don't think that, I think that's very difficult. So, hydrangea blue. And then we have that other thing that is in the media constantly here. The political situation in the United States. Indigo. The shutdown. A shutdown feels really alien to me because we don't have that here in the Netherlands, and I don't think we have that phenomenon anywhere in Europe. It's really weird to see that thousands and thousands of people do not get paid because the government cannot come up with a solution. Goodness. Oh, and again, I'm not showing you what I'm doing. I'm sorry. Here we go. I'm really happy that I chose this Irojiten pencil because it's working so good right now. Well, I hope for all those American people who do not get paid right now or are suffering in other ways, that this problem will be solved quickly. Ha! And there the magic happens. Do you see that? Those lighter spots, really nice. Wow, I really like it. The fact that it happened here, it just happened here. I had no idea I wanted this here, but I think I will change the shape of these lighter areas a little bit more, but I like it. Let's add some darkness here. Look at that. Yeah, this is nice. I think the next couple of weeks you will see me working on this page because as I said, I really want to finish this before I start anything new. Yeah. Know thyself. Well, I know myself. I have that tendency of starting new things and not finishing it. So when I'm just on the right track, keep going, keep going. Okay. This is it for now. I'll be back. Bye bye.